Here we go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to have you. And the class is called Speak Your Mind with Scratch Coding. And if you could use your Zoom chat to let me know maybe the school that you are in, what your role is. Some of you may not actually be classroom teachers. That's okay. Maybe let me know where in the world you are. And my big key question is, have you used Scratch Coding? Maybe a yes or a no, or maybe a little. That would help me just in terms of maybe what we're going to be doing today. And because this is a big class, I'm going to try to navigate the chat window, and we've got a lot of people responding. All right. Now, I'm not sure if you all were given the links to the main slide deck for today. But it does have a lot of information there about me, what my background is, where I've been, what I've done, and maybe to just narrow it down to 3 things. So just to give you an idea of why I'm doing this lesson today is, and my name is Kristy Manuel, and I'm currently an online coding instructor for an education company that's actually based in Silicon Valley, called Create and Learn. And I'm a former technology associate for the San Carlos School District there in Silicon Valley as well. And I'm actually in Oregon. I retired, but retiring doesn't always stick. I retired from the San Carlos School District, and then I moved to Oregon 5 years ago. And I was able to get this online coding teaching gig, and I love it. I have students all over the world. 10 years ago, I actually graduated from the merit program right there. So those that are attending in person today are sitting right where I was 10 years ago. So it's pretty cool to have a connection even 10 years later. So I'm excited to have you all here with me today. As I mentioned, my lesson is called Speak Your Mind with Scratch Coding. And today we're going to actually get some hands-on experience using 3 different methods of how Scratch can leverage the written words, the spoken words, and recorded words. So it's something that I'm hoping after today, you're going to take this back to your students and be able to use it in a classroom in just some really powerful ways. So if you've been around ed tech for any length of time, you've probably seen this graphic. A shout out to Brian Aspinall and Sylvia Duckworth. This graphic has been going around for years. It's 10 reasons to teach coding. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but the first 5 reasons in that graphic, I kind of made them easier to read here, really embrace what my lesson today is. And so the first one, it says, to teach coding, it allows students to create content, not just consume it. Create content. Number 2, teaching coding empowers students and gives them tools to express themselves in really cool ways. Number 3, coding teaches storytelling with games and animations. Number 4, it's a place for students to take risks and fail safely. And number 5, it's inclusive and it builds self-confidence. And so those first 5 reasons to teach coding are why I want to get you guys into using Scratch and allow your students to be empowered to create content, to do storytelling, to take risks, to build self-confidence, and just so many things about coding. Let's talk about those. So one of them is coding for self-expression. It's similar to puppet play. If you've ever seen a kid who actually will talk to a puppet and say things that they would never tell a human, but yet the human is standing there holding the puppet, it's kind of hilarious. And so you have students being able to share feelings and emotions and things that they're thinking about using the coding program, which I'm going to show you here in a moment. It's a place where students can express their feelings and thoughts. It really has the potential to improve language skills, social awareness, and so much more. So there's a lot of ways that using coding for self-expression is powerful. Now, coding can be scaffolded. It's not something that you have to be like in a specific grade level or ability level. It can really be scaffolded for any grade or ability. Now, younger students or new to coding students might just use the built-in characters and backgrounds that are already in Scratch, and that keeps it simple. Other students that might be older or more experienced, they might become ultra detailed with their artistic talents and their drawing abilities and make some really incredible animations and games and things that get way more advanced. So there's a lot of room for, you know, every age group. Now, using coding for learning about emotions, I want to share with you just a couple of projects that are part of Scratch. Before we actually get into the hands-on, I want to show you a couple of projects just that to give you an idea and inspire you with what you can actually use with your students. So let me open up a couple of these projects. One of them is just a student being able to express how they're feeling using some animations and words. Very simple, again, very simple. When I activate the code for this project, you can see it has some words that just sit there, but then it has these characters doing silly animations. Their heads are exploding. It says, sometimes when I get mad, it feels like my head will explode. And then it says at the bottom there, I don't have to stay mad. And these little characters are already built into Scratch. They have different facial expressions, so you can use different costumes, they're called. And so this is just one example of a project. Another project that could be used with your students that actually you could have them open this up and use it to try to figure out how they're feeling. Here's one where when I activate the code, it plays some music, and then I can click on these different pictures at the top to show how I'm feeling. So this first one,
I feel good.
So when I click on that little picture of the smiley face, it actually activates some animation and some words. The second one is different, and it's hard to tell from that picture, but if I click on it,
I feel
it has the
confused.
scratch cat meow, and then he has this kind of confused look. The third one is
I'm embarrassed.
The fourth one, the kids get a kick out of this.
I'm so mad.
And then the fifth one,
I feel sad and depressed.
and so you could open up this project and you could actually turn off the music. There's ways to do that in the code. And this is something that you could actually have your students play with. and just, again, experiencing, learning a little bit about emotions. Now, these are just two examples of some pretty simple projects. But what I'm going to do is I want to talk about getting us into Scratch. And we're going to actually use some Scratch accounts that I've created. Now, there's lots of different ways to use the Scratch website. And you could actually download the program to a computer so that you don't have to use internet. But if you're using this in a classroom, I highly recommend getting a teacher account and setting up student accounts. So you may or may not have used a teacher account in Scratch or even seen this being used. They have a lot of information on their website that really walks you through setting this up and makes it really easy. Now, the cool thing about having a teacher account in Scratch is it kind of gives you an ability to oversee your students, and it gives you the ability to manage their projects and their comments on other students' projects. Scratch can have sort of a social media component to it. And so, you know, kids will be kids, and sometimes they might say things that are not appropriate, or they might put somebody down about their project. But you can actually manage that if you have a teacher account and all your students are using the accounts in your project. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get us started. I'm going to send out two links in the Zoom chat. Now, the first one is going to open up a spreadsheet, and here's what it's going to look like. And I have a third column, C, where each of you, I'd like you to pick one of these usernames and passwords. I've given you all the same password. And if you could just put your name in this third column, column C, you can see I put my name next to KCICS22. I gave the room 22. The cool thing about having a teacher account is you can actually give your students their usernames and passwords, and then they can actually change their password. But if they forget it, you can reset it for them. So it actually makes it really convenient. Now, I'm going to send you the link for this spreadsheet. And like I said, I'm going to ask you guys to put your name in it. So let me go ahead and send that out in chat. All right, so take a moment, put your name in there. I'm going to send out another link, and I'm going to ask you to sign in to the Scratch website using the sign in button. Now, when you sign in, this is the first time you're signing in, what your students are going to see is what you see here today. So it's going to ask for what the student might feel uncomfortable putting in personal information. And they might say, well, why do they need to know what month I was born and what year and what gender and things like that? But the cool thing is that Scratch doesn't associate this with any students' names. They're very, very particular about privacy and safety. And they just kind of get a feel for demographics. It helps them understand who's using Scratch, what part of the world, where they are, and even what age group. And I think it gives them the ability to then probably get funding in certain situations. So let me send you the Scratch link, and then you guys will be able to go to the Scratch website and sign in. And once you're signed in, if you guys can maybe let me know in the chat, say I'm in. Okay, so here I'm sending out the Scratch website link. There you go. And thank you to those of you that have added your names here. This helps me. And now for the next session, I'll have a few available openings. For those of you that are not choosing one of the student sign-ins today, that's totally fine. I just wanted you to get a chance to see what a teacher account looks like and be able to actually watch on my end what the teacher would see for the students. So I'm going to give you guys another minute or so to get from those two links. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me post it again. Okay, so there's the spreadsheet link if you need to go in and get a student username and password. And I'll post the Scratch link again as well.
Now, assuming you have the same group, I love how much you did, all the way across, where do you kind of switch? And are you teaching Python?
All right. I'm seeing several people say they're in. All right, if you guys can come on back to my screen in Zoom, this is what I do with my students all the time because I'm online instructing. And so for them to navigate the computer, that's probably the biggest challenge, to get them to navigate back and forth between their Scratch in their browser window and Zoom, and to be able to go back and forth. And I want to share kind of a cool little trick with you. If you guys aren't aware of this, I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment, and then I'm going to share my screen again because I want to share something with you that is a pretty cool trick. Let me share my whole screen so you can see this. All right. So if I have my whole screen here, and let's pretend that I have Scratch in one window and I have Zoom in the other window, and I need to be able to get back and forth between these two windows. On an Apple computer, if you hold down the Command key and poke the Tab key, Command Tab allows you to switch between the different programs that are open and running. And so Command Tab allows you to tab your way through back and forth to get to different open programs. Now, if you're on a non-Apple computer, either a PC or a Chromebook, it's Alt Tab. So the Alt Tab key combination, hold down the Alt key, and then keep poking the Tab key until you see the icon lit up that you want to get to. Cool little trick. I love being able to share that with people. So if you can come on back to Zoom and you'll be here on my screen, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to need you to do, once you're signed in to your Scratch account, it takes you to the classroom that I invited you to using that username and password. And then I need you to click what says Create in the purple bar up at the top of the screen. Create will open up a brand new Scratch project. And once you've chosen Create, come on back to my screen, and we're going to talk about the next step. So switch back over to Scratch, click Create, and then come on back to my screen in Zoom. When you click create, you should see a big, fairly empty screen that has blue boxes down the left side with words in them. It has an orange scratch cat over on the right, kind of standing in a big empty box. That is your brand new scratch page. So let's go ahead, come on back to my screen. I'm going to give you a brief tour of the Scratch project window. I know we've got lots of different levels of Scratch people today. So if you've never used Scratch, I'm going to give you some basic things that might help you to find and navigate where you need to go. On the left-hand side, you have different coding commands. They're in color-coded groups. So the blue are motion, the purple are looks, and so forth. Scrolling up and down on that left side allows you to see all the different command blocks. In the middle of this Scratch window is where you put your code. We'll be stacking together some blocks. On the right-hand side of the screen is what we call the stage, where you actually get to see your code come alive. Then underneath the stage is an area where you manage what are called sprites and backgrounds or backdrops. Now, the word sprite, I know it sounds like a soda, but it's actually the name used for a character or an item in your project that you're going to be coding to do different things. So the first thing I'm going to have you guys do, and I'll show you how to do it here on my screen, and then I'll send you back to your Scratch page, is we're going to choose a sprite and a backdrop. So way down in the lower right corner of your screen are two little purple circles, and those actually allow you to open up the library to choose a sprite and a backdrop. So if I switch back to my Scratch page, way down in the lower right corner, I can click the little cat's head to choose a sprite, and it gives me a library of sprites. And there are categories up at the top if I want to narrow it down. And so I can scroll down, find something interesting. And once I found something that I like, I can click on it and it adds it to my stage. So I think I like this little penguin. I'm going to add him to the stage. When I click on a sprite, it throws it onto the stage. Underneath the stage, you can see two boxes. If I click on the Scratch cat, I can actually get rid of that cat by clicking on the little X in the corner to remove that sprite. So now I've just got the one penguin in my project. Now to choose a backdrop, I'm going to go down to choose a backdrop, click on that little button. And again, you've got some categories up at the top to narrow it down if you want. Or you can just scroll through and see all the choices. And once you find one that you like, you can click on it and it adds it to your stage. Now, if you choose a backdrop you don't like, just go pick a different one. So I'm going to give you guys like 2 minutes to go switch back to Scratch, find a sprite and a backdrop for your project. And feel free to unmute if you have a question or get stuck. All right, come on back to my screen. Now, one of the things that I want to point out is that when you're coding a sprite, you want to make sure that the sprite that you're on is the one that you want to code. So you might actually see in the corner of your coding area, you're going to see like a shaded, real faded image of the character that you're going to be coding. So it's important that you kind of pay attention to what it is that you're going to be coding, because each character can have its own, it can have its own code, and you can do different things with different characters. So let's take a look. I'm going to quickly introduce you to 3 different areas of code, and I'm going to ask you to just kind of experiment with them after I've showed them to you. So take a look at my screen. I know this is hard to switch back and forth, but if you can stay with me on my screen for just a couple minutes, and then I'm going to turn you loose to create your own. So first of all, to see or hear the words, you can actually type in what you want to have seen in a word bubble, and it shows up on the screen in a word bubble. You can see here the Scratch Cat has the little word hello next to him. Those are these purple blocks that say hello for 2 seconds and that sort of thing. Now, there's another option that allows us to have our characters speak out loud those words instead of just seeing them in a word bubble. And that's using an extra little extension in Scratch called text to speech. And that actually allows you to type in whatever you want your character to say, and then they'll say those words. They don't actually show up in a word bubble unless you do both code blocks, which we're going to take a look at. Now, there's different methods for different effects or different abilities. Now, some of you have students where typing is not easy for them, or they're young and they just haven't really learned the typing skills. And so there's ways that you can also use words in another powerful way, and that is with recording. And you can actually use sound blocks to record the words. And a lot of students love to tell stories and use their own voices and be able to hear themselves telling a story. So I'm going to show you briefly in Scratch the 3 different methods. And oh, I'm sorry, Lisa says that you can't hear me for some reason. Were you able to hear before and now you can't?
I hear you fine.
Oh, you can. Okay, good.
Yeah, I hear you as well.
Okay, so it may be Lisa's. Okay, let me just respond to Lisa. Lisa, check volume. All right, so here on Scratch, again, the 3 things that I want to point out that you can use. One is simply clicking on this little purple dot on the side. The very first block that says say hello for 2 seconds, I'm going to bring that in, and I'm going to make the code a little bit bigger using this little magnifying glass in the corner. It says say hello for 2 seconds. If I click that block by itself, it actually runs that code or tests the code by clicking the block. So say hello for 2 seconds and your character says something, shows up on the stage. Now, I can edit the words hello and the number of seconds. I can even take and put 2 blocks together, change the second one hello, and I can have them say, I'm feeling a bit shy today. And now if I click these 2 blocks together, just click, the penguin says, hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today. Now, those are just words that show up on the screen in a word bubble, and I had to type them in. Now, there's another method of getting your character to say things. These are cool. So take a look. In the lower left-hand corner is a button. It's kind of a big square purple box in the corner, and it's the add extension. If I click add extension, it opens up a list of different extensions that can partner with Scratch to do different things. There's a lot of cool robotic stuff here, but I'm going to take us to the purple one that's called text to speech. So if we click text to speech, it adds a whole new category of blocks over here on the side of my screen. So now at the bottom, text to speech, I have a speak bubble that says speak hello. And I even have a set voice to where I can change the voice. So if I click those two blocks,
Hello.
my character says hello
Hello.
with a certain voice. And you can choose a different voice if you want to take, play around with that. But I'm also going to add the words that I put in the say block up here. So I'm going to go and copy and paste those so I don't have to retype them again. And now when I click this stack of blocks.
Hello. I'm feeling a bit shy today.
So my character actually says something, but again, the words aren't there. Now,
Can you show that? Can you show that again? How you can move the I'm feeling a bit shy to down below? I didn't catch that.
Oh, so I took the words and I clicked on the words that are in the purple block. It highlighted them blue. And then I just used the keyboard to copy them, Control C or Command C to copy. And then I clicked inside the speak block and pasted them using Control V or Command V to paste them into that block.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So those two different methods, one is the extension called text to speech. The other is using these purple say blocks. The third method I want to show you briefly is being able to record voices. And to record voices, you'll go to the sound blocks. These are the pink sound blocks. And the very first block says play sound until done. And playing sound until done, most sprites have an associated sound with them. And so play sound chirp until done. If I were to click this block, I would hear a sound. Now, it's chirp because it's a penguin. If I had the cat, it would be a meow. If it was a dog, it would have a bark. Not every sprite has its own sound. If I click on the down arrow next to that name, it gives me two choices, chirp or record. So I can actually go to record and I can say the same thing that's in these other blocks and record it. So I'm going to click record. Now it might ask the students to allow the microphone to be used by Scratch. So you may have to go through a couple extra steps the first time you do that. And then you can click record and simply say, hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today. And then stop the recording. I can trim off the left side opening. I can drag this other red bar, trimming off either side. And then I can play it to see if that's what I wanted to say. I also have a re-record button. Hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today. And so then I'm going to save this as a choice. And now all of a sudden, I'm like, where did my code go? If I go to the upper left corner of my screen, I have code, costumes, and sounds. The code tab will take me back to my code. The sounds tab takes me to where I just recorded that sound. There's the chirp sound. There's the recording that I made. Now, if I want to pick a totally different sound, there's another little circle in the corner that takes me to a library of sounds to experiment with. I don't want to do that just now, but let's go back to the code. And I'm going to choose, instead of chirp, now I have that recording that I made. So if I play the sound for the recording, hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today. Now I've got a sound block that says the words that I want the character to say. I've got say blocks that will show the words on the screen, or I've got the computerized voice to say the words that I've typed in. Now, just putting these blocks on the screen, that's okay, and you can click on them to make them happen. But in coding, in programming, you want to add one more thing to your code, and that is called an event block. An event block tells your program when you want to run the code. So I have 3 blocks here: a when green flag clicked, a when this sprite clicked, and a when space key pressed. And so these 3 blocks, I can choose whichever one I want to attach to my code. So if I go back to my Scratch page and I go to the yellow event blocks, I can attach a green flag to a stack of my code. And then if I click above the stage there, if I click the green flag, it runs just that stack of code, and you can see the yellow outline that shows it's running. If I want other code to happen at a different time, I can put another event block when this sprite clicked. So that means if I go over and I tickle the penguin, click on his tummy there,
Hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today.
it activates that code. Now, I could also attach a green flag to the sound block. That would mean that both of these stacks of code would run at the same time. So if I click the green flag now, hello, I'm feeling a bit shy today. It runs both of them at the same time. I could instead use when the space key is pressed and pick a different key on the keyboard. There's a lot of different options for using event blocks. What I'd like to...
Can you
Oh.
have them like go in succession?
Yeah, you can have them go one after the other. They can all be stacked together at the same time. What I'm going to do is give you guys some links to different projects that have code that show you how you can do this. But I also have another option that I want to share with you. I want to give you guys a few minutes to try to put together having your sprite introduce himself and then tell us what kind of day he's having. Use any of the say or speak blocks or the sound blocks and attach them to an event. Now, I know I went through that really quickly and we only have a few more minutes in our session, but I want to give you guys a chance to come up with something, and then on your Scratch page up at the top, you're going to see an orange button that says share. And if you're able to share it, I want you to tell me in the chat window that you shared it. And then I'm going to go and look for that project in our classroom. So I can actually open it up as the teacher to see your work.
Who do we share it with?
At the top of your Scratch page, if you look and you see that orange button at the top that says share, all you have to do is click that orange share button. If you're signed in using the account that I sent out in the spreadsheet, then I'll be able to see it.
Okay.
I'll send out the spreadsheet link again for those that may have joined later. And don't forget to sign the attendance, I guess, sign in for today's presentation. It looks like Pervinder sent out a link.
Yes, please do sign in. And then also there's a question here from Daniel. Is there a way to see the script rather than the nodes? Or is it codes?
Actually, the Scratch program doesn't really give you that ability to look at the coding in a more advanced coding version. Scratch just is very block-based. So yeah. I know there are other block-based programming programs that do allow that. I believe, is it Blockly? I think might be one of them. But this is really meant to kind of get kids excited and interested about the methodology and the thinking behind coding. And I'm barely, to use a good pun, I'm barely scratching the surface today. I know we only have like another minute. So if anybody has been able to share their project, I want to go and look at my teacher account and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go, first I'm going to save my project. And I'm going to go to my classes. And I'm going to click on today's KCI workshop. And if I click